disrupted.
America that I fought.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. It's been a fantastic day so far. So it looks like there's going to be a rematch of the Trump v. Biden campaigns, obviously with Donald Trump getting the GOP nomination, Biden getting the Democratic nomination. It's a rematch, folks. And in a healthy democracy in America, some of the bystanders have a few tricks up their sleeves because they want to make sure this Democratic election goes smoothly and favorably, just like the last one. And I'll just leave it at that because we can't really mention more about election integrity because you know how sensitive a subject matter is when it comes to social media platforms. But we could show you obvious signs and clues, like for the fact that Schiff, Mr. Sly Dog himself, was on Meet the Press, and he's about to blurt out the obvious sign that the conclusion of election interference didn't actually come from Russia, isn't actually coming from China, but it's actually coming with inside the American intelligence agencies. Just like we figured out for a while now, but now it's being introduced in the main spotlight. And just hear how he openly states that the meddling that's going on to stop their political opponents from being mentioned and being in a democratic process. Watch this.
In turning young people out to vote.
Congressman, let me ask you about this development this weekend. U.S. intelligence officials are planning to provide briefings for Donald Trump if he officially secures the nomination, despite the fact that he's facing 40 felony charges for his handling of classified documents. As the former chair of the House Intelligence Committee, do you think it's appropriate for him to receive intelligence briefings?
Well, that is the practice, but we've never had a situation where one of the candidates for president has been so criminally negligent when it comes to handling, if not worse, when it comes to handling classified information. So I have to hope, and knowing the intelligence community as I do, that they will dumb down the briefing for Donald Trump. That is, they will give him no more information than absolutely necessary, nothing that would reveal sources or methods, because we can't trust that he will do the right thing with that information. He's been so reckless. So, yes, it does concern me. It is part of a long tradition. They will be wary of what they share with him, and they should.
Final question here, Congress.
So, this is in relation to the criminal charges of classified documents, which still baffles my brain a bit to the fact that a president, when Trump was president at the time, they're criminally charging him for the mishandling of classified documents, which he, as president, has full access and ability to classify and declassify the documents within his administration. Meanwhile, while this is being pursued to attack on Trump, and again, this is not a pro-Trump stance, because Joe Biden, as vice president, not president, but vice president Joe Biden, also mishandled classified documents, took them to a publisher to get a book put onto shelves, and interfered with documents pertaining precise information. But he even said, and this is the key giveaway here, he said that this is a common practice, but in Trump's case, because he's a master criminal artist, this is why we have to be concerned, and the intelligence communities have to double down and restrict him from information. Now, you have to look at this and come to the conclusion that this is election interference, that you're restricting information from your political opponent and giving it to another political opponent, restricting him that ability and criminally prosecuting him for charges that he as president was able to concur with his own classified documents. He has the ability to classify or declassify any documents. That's the job of a president. They have that ability to do so. That's one of the responsibilities as being president. But they vilified Trump as some sort of deranged criminal, whereas Joe Biden, convicted of the same thing, fell off the criminal court cases because they thought, hey, he enacted in a safer matter, and the fact that we can't criminally prosecute Joe Biden because his marbles aren't there. That's why they swept him off the trial, is the fact that Joe Biden isn't mentally cognitive enough to withstand trial. They just called him mentally insane and then just allowed him to get away from criminal charges. But Trump, on the other hand, is the more dangerous one. So again, I find this so interesting that in a world where people are screaming at the top of their lungs that, January 6th was the day that took down democracy, we're jeopardizing democracy because of Neanderthals that came into the Capitol and walked around like a tour guide. They're the ones that are ruining democracy. As you're witnessing mainstream media openly in front of your face admit that they're interfering the election purposely. These are the people. These are the coons. These are the goons that are really threatening democracy. They're the ones that are jeopardizing this and putting tactics to weaponize their political opponents because they want to silence anyone outside the establishment, which happens to be Trump. Did he govern any differently out of the establishment? Not really. Because when he was president, he did the stuff that the establishment wanted him to do. That's why he was able to retain a presidency for 4 years. But apparently, if he gets reelected, it's more dangerous than we think, as said by Adam Schiff and the rest of the Democratic establishment. But here's the ultimate reason why, and I want to re-highlight this because this is a video way back then, to remind people when Chuck Schumer did his best mafia impression, to remind us who actually runs the country. Because I would imagine, I grew up to think that we were taught that it was the president. The president, the prime minister, they are the ones that are, they're the ones with the high power to formally run the country. But here's the takeaway that Chuck Schumer openly states on MSNBC.
Briefing on so-called Russian hacking was delayed till Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange. We're actually told, intelligence sources tell NBC News since this tweet has been posted, that actually this intelligence briefing for the president-elect was always planned for Friday. It hasn't been delayed. But he's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them. And we need the intelligence community. We don't know what's going on. Look at the Russian hacking.
Think about that. The intelligence communities, which I cringe at that word. The fact that they're using community to describe the agencies that are jeopardizing and screwing over not only democracy in America, but are jeopardizing national security. They are the threat to national security. They're not there to help you and make sure you're secure. They're the ones every single day jeopardizing national security and your security every single day. So the fact that they call these communities is disgusting. They make it frivolous to say that, oh, it's like a communal thing. Oh, don't you just feel loved and accepted by the CIA that's wiretapping your phones and reading your text messages and then blackmailing you constantly through the Patriot Act? You feel so warm with them. But that's Chuck Schumer telling the president, President Trump, you don't want to mess with the intelligence community because they will attack you. To the president. And he adds the point of, well, he is a businessman, but he should know as a businessman not to mess with the intelligence community. The thing is, he's not just a businessman anymore. He's not that billionaire that you all adored 20 years ago. You brought him into politics. Hillary Clinton suggested him to run in the GOP race. He used the Pied Piper strategy to pedestal him to being able to be in politics, and then he won. And now being the president and being into politics, they're angry at the fact that Trump is suggesting that there's something fishy about the intelligence community, something fishy about the deep state. He's cluing into the fact that the presidency doesn't actually run the country. It seems like someone else is at the gears, and I'm just the mascot. So if you really think that, Donald Trump and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris or Mike Pence or any of those people are capable of running the country, turns out they are just the figures. They are just the mascots. They are just the face of the real masterminds, the real criminal artists that are behind the gears, that are controlling, manipulating, weaponizing, and destroying every aspect of the nation. And Chuck Schumer is warning the president not to mess with the intelligence agencies. The president, who has the ultimate high power, not to mess with the intelligence agency. Just like how Adam Schiff, as you saw in the previous video, said the similar thing. That we can't give information to Donald Trump because we don't want the intelligence communities, or agencies, I don't know, communities just, again, it's just a weird phrase. We don't want the intelligence agencies to feel threatened by the president. We don't want Donald Trump, former President Trump, to have information, restrict him of information, give it to his opponent so we could sway the election. It is absolutely absurd. And again, I laugh at the fact that people still to this day they scream about how concerning democracy is. We have to preserve democracy. We have to do everything to preserve election integrity. We got to do everything that we can. But they miss the obvious clues that even mainstream media is pointing right at you. They're dangling a carrot right in front of you. The intelligence communities are personally attacking Trump. They're going after their political opponents. They're undermining democracy. They're restricting you from having the choice of voting one or the other. Because these criminal charges that they're supposedly posing onto Trump are just revenge threats. These are cultivizing manufactured charges to be vengeful against Trump. For example, all the indictments that they were trying to, and impeachments that they were trying to do on the Trump presidency, one of them was the fact that Trump wanted to put a pause on sending weapons to Ukraine. A pause. He didn't say he was going to restrict weapons going to Ukraine. He just said that we need to have a pause. We need to investigate. And that was messing with the war industry. So they had to do an impeachment on that. Then they went on to make criminal charges on the classified documents. And again, you see how they're investigating this. You see the way that they're using personal vindictions to sway away from actual litigation, from actual legal cases, to making just a personal vendetta against him. And that is because Donald Trump, as much of a, harness billionaire and Neanderthal and narcissistic goon that he is, and I'm not a fan of him either, but you could see out in the open how this is a personal vilification. This is the villains, the deep state, personally going after Trump because Trump is a wild card. Trump was able to say and do things that 99.9% of presidents during the age of the intelligence uprising weren't allowed to do. He was allowed to say that we're going into Syria to capture the oil. He even said during a campaign rally recently why we were going into Venezuela. We wanted to take their oil. We wanted to throw in this puppet government, and we wanted to capture their oil reserves, which Venezuela has huge amount of oil reserves. They have the biggest oil reserves compared to Saudi Arabia. Donald Trump was the only person to say that. No other president, no other politician, and exactly that point, because no other politician has the moxie to do that. And Chuck Schumer is threatening the president at the time, Donald Trump, by saying, hey, you don't want to say those words because the intelligence agencies are going to take you down. This is your threat to democracy. This is your threat to democracy. Not randos going to the Capitol, not randos on social media, not me, not podcasters. These people, Adam Schiff and Chuck Schumer and the Democratic establishment and the Republican establishment, the deep state that's cultivating all these catastrophe criminal convictions against Trump when they're actually jeopardizing the legal process into doing personal vendettas against him. And it's just an absolute absurdity to the whole democratic process. And this is how you have to be completely blind to not see that this is a silencing of a political opponent. And this is how they're doing it.